Mark meets Stuart, a homeless man, on a busy city street and makes an unusual promise to change his life in just one evening. He starts by giving Stuart a fresh haircut and buying him new clothes, determined to find him a family by the night's end. But can Mark truly fulfill this bold promise and transform Stuart's life? You never know who you'll encounter in life and how they might change your world. I'm Mark, and a few days ago, I had this wholesome experience I will never forget. So, I was sitting on a busy city street, munching on my sandwich during lunch break. Out of nowhere, this scruffy-looking guy walks up to me and hands me my wallet. "Hey, you dropped this," he said. I was stunned. "Thanks, man. I didn't even notice." "What's your name?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Stuart," he replied with a shy smile. "I'm Mark," I said, shaking his hand. "I'm a barber. How about I repay you with a fresh haircut?" Stuart looked down at his worn-out clothes and shrugged. "Why bother? I got no one to impress. Nobody cares about a bum like me." I imagine being in Stuart's shoes, and his words hit me right in the feels. I knew I had to do something more. "How about this?" I said, my mind racing. "I bet you I can find you a family in one evening." Stuart laughed, thinking I was joking, but I grabbed his hand. "Bet on it." I could see he wasn't really sure, but he agreed. We headed straight to my shop. "Come on in, Stuart," I said, holding the door open for him as we arrived. The place was buzzing with activity. My colleagues and a few customers gave us curious looks as we walked in. I pointed to the chair. "Take a seat, Stuart. Let's see what we can do." Stuart hesitated for a moment but then sat down. I draped the cape over him and got to work. "You're in for a treat," I said, picking up my clippers. As I started cutting his hair, I could see the change happening right before my eyes. The scruffy, tired look began to disappear. Stuart was getting a fresh start, and it showed. "How's it looking?" Stuart asked, a bit nervous. "Trust me, you're going to look great," I replied, focusing on giving him the best cut possible. Other barbers started to gather around, watching the transformation. "Wow, Mark, you're doing wonders," one of them said, impressed. When I was done, I turned the chair around so Stuart could see himself in the mirror. His eyes widened. "Is that really me?" he asked, touching his newly styled beard and hair. "Yep, that's you," I said, smiling. "What do you think?" Stuart grinned, looking a bit shy. "I feel like a new man. But do you think it's too fancy for a guy like me?" Everyone in the shop chuckled. "Not at all," I said. "You deserve this." Stuart's confidence seemed to soar. He stood up a bit straighter, and there was a sparkle in his eye that hadn't been there before. "Thanks, Mark. This feels amazing," he said. But it wasn't over yet. After the haircut, I decided it was time to get Stuart some new clothes. We walked over to a nearby clothing boutique. As we stepped inside, the staff greeted us with friendly smiles. "Hi there. How can we help you today?" one of them asked. "We need to find my friend Stuart here some stylish clothes," I said, patting Stuart on the back. Stuart looked around, a bit overwhelmed. "I've never been in a place like this," he whispered to me. "Don't worry, we'll find something great," I assured him. The staff quickly got to work, bringing out various outfits for Stuart to try. His reactions were priceless. "These pants are so tight. How do people breathe in these?" he said, making everyone laugh. I handed him a shirt. "Just try it on, Stuart. "You'll look great." He reluctantly took the clothes and went into the changing room. A few minutes later, he came out, looking unsure. "How do I look?" he asked. "Wow, Stuart, you look fantastic," I said, giving him a thumbs up. The staff nodded in agreement. Stuart looked at himself in the mirror, turning this way and that. "I feel like I'm wearing someone else's clothes," he said with a laugh. "But they do look nice." "Exactly, that's the point," I said. "You deserve to feel good about yourself." After trying on a few more outfits and making everyone laugh with his witty comments, Stuart finally settled on an outfit that made him feel comfortable yet stylish. "I think he'll stick with this one," he said, smiling. "Great choice," I said. "You're looking sharp, my friend." Stuart's confidence seemed to grow even more. "Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate this," he said, enveloping me in a hug. "No problem. We're just getting started," I said, feeling excited about what was to come. With Stuart looking sharp, we decided to grab dinner at a cozy cafe. As we walked in, Stuart seemed nervous. "I haven't been to a place like this in years," he admitted. "Relax, Stuart. It's just dinner. Enjoy it," I said, guiding him to a table. We sat down and ordered some food. While we waited, I pulled out my phone. "How about we set up a date for you?" I suggested. "A date? You're serious?" Stuart asked, his eyes widening. "Why not? Let's give it a shot," I said, smiling. I registered him on a dating site and quickly set up a profile. Within minutes, we got a response from a woman named Linda. She agreed to meet us at the cafe. When Linda arrived, she seemed interested at first. Stuart stood up and introduced himself, looking a bit nervous. "Hi, I'm Stuart," he said, offering his hand. Linda shook his hand, but her smile faded as we talked. When she found out Stuart was homeless, her expression changed. "You should have been honest," she said, standing up abruptly. "Wait, Linda has a great guy," I tried to explain, but she was already walking out the door. Stuart sat back down, looking dejected. "I'm sorry, Stuart," I said, feeling bad for him. To my surprise, he smiled. "It's all right, Mark. Today is still one of the best days of my life." It reminded me of when I used to go out with friends and meet girls. I didn't know what to do at that point. I had promised him I would help him find a family, and I knew that I had failed to do so. But the next morning, on my way to work, I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. Stuart was sitting outside a supermarket, chatting with a woman. They were both smiling and laughing. Woman falls in love with a wealthy man. She turns pale as a ghost when she meets his mother to pick up a new girl. My widower dad told her I was his housekeeper, not his daughter. I taught him a harsh lesson. My stepson disrespects my kids and makes mess in our home, while husband stays silent. I taught him some manners. He walked over, curious. "Hey, Stuart," I called out, waving. "Mark. Good to see you," Stuart replied, standing up and giving me a big smile. "I want you to meet Maria." Maria stood up and shook my hand. "Hi, Mark. It's nice to meet you," she said warmly. "Nice to meet you too, Maria," I said, looking at Stuart with a raised eyebrow. "Where did you two meet?" "Believe it or not, we met last night after the date fiasco," Stuart said with a chuckle. "Maria was kind enough to sit and talk with me. We've been chatting ever since." Maria smiled at Stuart. "Stuart told me everything. I've had my own struggles, so I understand where he's coming from." I felt a surge of happiness and pride. "That's wonderful to hear," I said, genuinely moved. You two seem to get along really well. We do, Stuart said, looking at Maria with a grateful smile. Thanks to you, Mark. That bet led to something really good. I'm just glad to see you happy, Stuart. You deserve this, I said, and we shared a hug. I still can't believe it all happened. Life has a funny way of surprising us, doesn't it? Stuart found a friend, and maybe even a family, through a series of events that started with a lost wallet. And I learned that sometimes, all it takes is a little compassion to change someone's life. Have you ever witnessed something like this or changed someone's life for the better? If you enjoyed this story, here's another one. After Maureen loses her husband, her son encourages her to move closer to him and his family, so she packs up and moves. As she settles in, she realizes the neighbors aren't as friendly as they seem. Can Maureen win them over, or should she move again? This work is inspired by real events and people, but it has been fictionalized for creative purposes. Names, characters, and details have been changed to protect privacy and enhance the narrative. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental and not intended by the author. The author and publisher make no claims to the accuracy of events or the portrayal of characters and are not liable for any misinterpretation. This story is provided as is, and any opinions expressed are those of the characters and do not reflect the views of the author or publisher.